Blacklist Hunter here, and today we're going to talk about Chrollo versus Silva Zoldyck and why in reality it's an extremely close fight. I recently did a poll on the channel on who would win the battle one-on-one, and it surprised me to see it was an even 50-50 split. Out of almost 800 votes, half of the fans believe Silva would win and the other half believe Chrollo would win. Now for this fight I'm mostly going to focus on the Yorknew City fight between Chrollo and the Zoldicks, but a little speculation doesn't hurt. First off, before Zeno used N to locate Chrollo in the building, Silva was observing the other assassin whom Chrollo had ended, and he was impressed at how skillfully he was taken out with one strike from behind, and Silva stated that it was done very smoothly. Now Chrollo even fought one-on-one this other assassin who looked very dangerous, one of the best hired by the 10 Dons, and he states that he can feel Chrollo is just like him, a predator who is addicted to ending people. Even though this assassin was clearly very skilled at his craft, Chrollo outperformed him in a one-on-one knife fight, and ultimately he used indoor fish Nen ability on him, which is possibly one of the most gruesome and terrifying Nen abilities we've seen, that makes the victim not feel pain or even bleed while being eaten alive by these Nen fish who love human flesh. Now Chrollo took out these assassins who, to be fair, were very skilled, but I wanna say that the Zoldicks are on a whole different level than them. Even Kurapika could tell that the real wolves in the room of the assassins at the meeting were Zeno and Silva, and this was Kurapika with Nen, and he is quite skilled at reading a person's overall strength. Silva and Zeno are on that legendary tier of assassins. Possibly in the entire world they are the best at what they do, unless there are others. First off, before fighting Chrollo, Zeno states that they are not getting paid enough for this. It could be that he thinks that it will be a challenging job, or we can simply regard it as just another casual statement he gives. And if you look at the manga panels, both Silva and Zeno seem quite excited to fight, and they don't look even at the slightest bit nervous, but more like they are ready to throw hands, because Silva is literally smiling. They came face to face with Chrollo, and Silva says to Zeno to be careful as Chrollo can steal people's abilities, and this is one of the statements that make people underestimate Silva. We have to keep in mind and to be clear, and it's obvious that Silva and Zeno are cautious fighters. They don't underestimate any opponent. Even if their opponent wasn't Chrollo, they would still be fighting in extreme caution, and they wouldn't show their arsenal of abilities until they have had a good grasp on how the opponent fights or what skills or abilities he has. So Zeno and Silva start fighting Chrollo, and the spider leader is obviously getting overpowered. We cannot deny that. Silva managed to land a heavy punch while Zeno unleashed a aura burst attack. Silva was so aggressive and such in perfect sync with Zeno that Chrollo had to resort using a poisoned knife, a Ben's era knife, which has such a powerful toxic that 0.1 milligrams can paralyze a whole whale. So even Chrollo himself admits that 2-on-1 is difficult for him. In close combat, Chrollo had no chance 2-on-1. Maybe if it was only Zeno he may have had a chance, but he had to resort to using a knife to keep them in long distance, because some people say, oh, but Chrollo fought 2 Zoldicks and managed to perform quite well. At a certain degree that's true, but we have to keep in mind we don't know what the Zoldicks' objective was. Maybe they were waiting for Illumi's call, or simply they didn't go all out. Now we have to agree that Silva is a monster physically, with one of the best builds in the whole Hunter x Hunter verse. I mean, the comparison with the whale regarding the poison is next level, and Silva, after wrapping the wound with his hair and saying no problem, adds to his immense durability of poison. Silva has the physical capabilities of a whole monster. Next, Zeno read Chrollo in a flash, breaking down his ability, and Chrollo had to throw the knife and charge his aura. Here is another statement that makes people underrate the Zoldicks and elevate Chrollo. Zeno says to Silva to cover him, and once he has Chrollo pinned down, Silva has to kill Chrollo even if it means killing Zeno. So Zeno focuses all his aura into his hand, and even Chrollo is impressed and knows the energy will be too much to handle. Basically he had no way to go guard against that level of power, so he activated Skill Hunter and brought out the ability he stole from all. Here in the manga you can see how they both observe Chrollo, and this shows that both of them are quite calm and cautious because they are very experienced fighters. After Chrollo activated the cloak ability, Zeno admits it could be trouble if he was an average person. We know he's not, but the most important thing Zeno states is that Chrollo is trying to buy time. So Chrollo knew he had no way of taking them out alive and was resorting to the cloak ability, which requires a person to be in close range to actually work, which Zeno immediately understood and was staying away and using long range attacks with Dragon Lance. Chrollo then closed the book and he admits that Zeno is really tough, and he grasped his plan really quickly and he turned off the ability. Even Silva made the same deductions as Zeno, noticing that the ability disappears when the book is closed, and he was impressed that Chrollo was dodging Zeno's attacks at the last moment and still was keeping an eye on Silva. Furthermore, Silva says that Chrollo had improved a lot since the last time they fought, and me personally, I have taken this statement as Silva saying that like in a position of power. What I mean is that Silva was stronger at the time they fought, and now he was impressed at how much Chrollo had evolved and improved. It's like a teacher saying to a student, you have improved a lot. Anyways, here comes the statement that makes people underestimate Silva by a lot. Silva says, we don't know what he is capable of. To stop Chrollo, we might have to pay with our lives. Now you can take this in two ways. Either you can say Silva thinks Chrollo is so dangerous at the level of actually taking one of them out, or both of them, simply by taking in consideration what immense tactics and skill Chrollo had displayed so far in battle. Or you can say Silva was still thinking of the worst possible outcome and overestimating Chrollo considering his arsenal of abilities in Skill Hunter and still being extremely cautious. Because let's be fair, Chrollo isn't your average Nen user. He is a genius and a extremely skilled Nen user with immense Nen abilities and a great deal of experience. Of course, Silva would be cautious after witnessing all that skill from Chrollo, even though he was the whole time on the defensive and he was trying to at least steal one of their abilities. Next, Zeno managed to close the distance and trap Chrollo with his Aura Dragon and yelled at Silva to attack. So Silva powered the Aura Orbs and simply threw them. Now let's be fair, if Silva had wanted to actually take both his dad and Chrollo out in that position, considering at what aura capacity he might have, he could even had unleashed bigger orbs of aura than that. Silva is in his 50s, a extremely lethal fighter, a master in aura emission. Let's be completely honest here, Silva didn't aim properly. They were either waiting for Illumi's call or Illumi called at the right time, making Silva switch his original intention of attack. Even after Zeno and Chrollo got up, Chrollo asked if they were going to finish him off, and Zeno says that now that the Dawns are dead, he was no longer their target, which means they knew and were waiting for Illumi's call. Zeno even says that they don't do this for fun and they don't want to die for nothing. We have to point this out, none of them was going all out, neither Chrollo or Silva or Zeno. Considering it was a 2 versus 1, I could say Chrollo was more fatigued, and clearly Chrollo had no other choice but to stay on the defensive at all times. If the Zoldicks had wanted to take out Chrollo, they would have done so in perfect synchronization with each other. I am of the opinion that Chrollo cannot win a 2 versus 1 against the Zoldicks, no matter what the environment. They both are legendary Nen users. Even Illumi was like, is Chrollo still alive? Suggesting that he was thinking they would have taken him out. Now, with that out of the way, what if Chrollo had fought in the same spot at the Hotel Silva one-on-one? As most would say, it's extremely difficult to determine a winner. Silva clearly has more battle experience. He has a lifetime of battles with who knows how many dangerous Nen users of different categories. Chrollo is younger, in his prime, but clearly more versatile because he has an arsenal of abilities at his disposal. Now, we know Chrollo isn't going to fight Silva with a knife, since Silva can definitely find a way to counter that by either staying long distance, shooting aura orbs, or simply going in repeatedly trying to take the knife off his hands. Physically, in physical combat, it's clear Silva would demolish Chrollo because not only he is like 2 meters tall tall, built like a tank, his overcapacity should be certainly remarkable. I'm only assuming, but his enhancement proficiency should be pretty high, while Chrollo, being a specialist, can only use it at a certain level, and Chrollo clearly doesn't have enough physical strength. So if Silva is fighting Chrollo one-on-one in physical combat, he is taking out Chrollo no problem. Chrollo ran from Hisoka, and I personally think Hisoka is weaker than Silva in strength. If we take in consideration that Silva hasn't shown his true power yet, he does have a win condition on Chrollo if he has a secret ability combined with his immense battle IQ and lethal assassination techniques. However, if somehow Silva does manage to put Chrollo in a difficult position, it's clear he is killing Chrollo in very high difficulty, as Chrollo is quite tricky to deal with. If Chrollo activated Indoor Fish Nen ability on Silva, Silva would be staying on the defensive trying to avoid the... He certainly isn't going anywhere near that. Likewise, if Chrollo used All's ability, Silva would be in the same position on the defensive. If Chrollo used the ability he used to transport Nobunaga after attacking Hisoka, he probably would catch Silva by surprise and he could actually deal a heavy attack. If we say Chrollo has way more abilities and is more versatile, we can say the same about Silva, that he is very knowledgeable and possesses immense battle experience, and he might have a OP ability not necessarily in emission affinity but a different crafted ability throughout his years as a professional assassin. Since Silva is the head of the family, it must mean somehow that he has surpassed Zeno in a way, possibly in strength and actual skill and overall capacity. If Chrollo has no preparation time and fought Silva in Heaven's Arena, I have no doubt in my mind that he will actually lose to Silva, because Silva in close combat should be a different monster. There is no way Chrollo is defending with Ko or Ken against the heavy punches of Silva, and Silva can actually perform many deadly assassination techniques like the Rhythm Echo, but possibly even more than that. If Chrollo has prep time and fights Silva, there is no way Silva is winning, because we know Chrollo is next level genius whom devises flawless plans. If he used the same abilities like Sun and Moon and Convert hands and such, he would overpower Silva and blow him to bits just like Hisoka. Now we know Silva has immense strength, durability and speed. His training has shaped him into one of the most lethal assassins in the world. How would Chrollo deal with that? Only by keeping his distance and using tricky abilities to somehow trap Silva and always keep him into the defensive. Chrollo is clearly more versatile in combat, and his speed is not something to be taken lightly as well. The way Chrollo executes his abilities is insane at a very fast pace. Chrollo might not be the strongest in pure strength, but his adaptability and variety of skills is what makes him truly dangerous. It's basically like this: bringing a shotgun to the fight while the opponent not only has a shotgun, he has pistols, a bazooka and several rifles and snipes. So depending on the environment, it can go either way. But I am of the opinion 5.5 times out of 10 I am in favor of Chrollo winning the fight, just because he may be a bit smarter, more versatile and has more abilities at his hand. Of course I love Silva, but I do believe we haven't seen even 20% of what he can truly do. But Chrollo is really difficult to deal with. Silva can definitely deal damage to Chrollo if he manages to catch him, while Chrollo can definitely trap Silva somehow in a prolonged fight. But these characters are both quite intelligent and quite sharp, and it would prove difficult to each of them to outsmart and ultimately end the other. I appreciate all of you for watching the video. If you enjoy these types of content, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next Hunter x Hunter video.